is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and this episode is titled Why You Should Never Juice Greens in a Centrifugal Ejection Juicer, such as the Breville Juice Fountain Elite. This is a very popular juicer out there, and what I want to try to get across to you in this episode is that every juicer has their pros and their cons. There's things that are good about juicers, and there's things that are bad about juicers. Let's go ahead and step back for a minute, and the juicer is simply a kitchen appliance, small kitchen appliance, or kitchen tool that allows you to process the most important foods on the entire planet that you guys should be eating on a regular basis. The fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables. In a recent study that just came out a few weeks ago, it was learned that less than 3% of Americans eat healthfully or live a healthy lifestyle, which not only includes eating proper volumes of fruits and vegetables, also getting things like exercise and rest and not smoking and all these things. So the juicers are the tools to allow you to unlock the nutrition in the fruits and vegetables. They're definitely my favorite things, and as tools, you guys know that are into carpentry or homeowner or home repairs, there's some tools are better than others for the certain task. So for example, if I'm unscrewing a Phillips head screw, I'm not going to use a straight slot because it doesn't fit in the screw hole. You could do it, and I've done it before, but it's not the perfect tool. And likewise, if you're a lady and you don't really know about tools, you know about shoes, right? You know that you're not going to wear flip-flops to like a nice wedding when your girlfriend's getting married, but if you're going to the beach, yes, you're going to wear your flip-flops. So the right, tool for the right job or the right shoe for the right situation. And that's the same with the juicers, right? Not any juicer can do it all. There's some juicers that definitely come closer than others. Now, the reason for this is because every juicer works differently. And I want to explain the Breville or other high-speed centrifugal ejection juicers. How they work is they have a feed chute right in the top that you're going to put your produce in. This happens to be a 3-inch wide feed chute. You put the produce in there, and then the produce gets put into this fast-spinning blade with these sharp little teeth on there. It's kind of like a grater if you're grating carrots, for your salad at night. When you're grating your carrots, some small amounts of juice will come off, and then you have your shredded carrots. When this actually micro-grates the produce you're putting in, it micro-grates it. When it micro-grates it, the juice is released. It goes through this juicing screen, and then the pulp gets kicked out the back. So this style machine is actually really great because for things like carrots and celery, cucumbers, and more hard, firm fruits, it's actually going to do all right, especially for the hard vegetables, any kind of root vegetables. This thing is probably going to get one of the highest yields, aside from a few other cold press slow juicers on the market, such as twin gears and or 2-stage hydraulic press machines. But that being said, that's a pro. The other pro of this machine is that it's super fast. It's very fast. So if you don't have any time to make juice, then you'll hopefully at least have time to make this juice. That being said, a big con of this machine, in my opinion and based on my research, is that it produces a lesser quality juice. Now, vitamins and minerals, they're good. They're still going to be in the juice for sure. But the most important nutrient in the juice that I believe that I want to get into me anyways, and hopefully you guys want to get into you, are the phytonutrients and the phytochemicals. This is what is like the red coloring, the red pigments in the tomatoes, the lycopene, or they have different, isothiocyanates in, broccoli and cabbage and cruciferous plants that have been shown in studies to be anti-cancerous. Basically what they did, they took a high-speed juicer, low-speed juicer, and also a high-speed blender, and they blended up broccoli. And they took the outputs of the high-speed juicer, the blender, and the slow juicer with live active cancer cells in a petri dish. And they looked to see which one of these juices or blended smoothie would be more effective against the cancer. And the slow juice had 50% more overall, because they did 6 different types of cancers. Overall had a 50% better reduction of the cancer growth or the replication. So for this reason, that's why I like the slow machines, because they're going to preserve more of the nutrition. And even if this takes you half the time, you're getting half the cancer fighting ability. And I don't know about you, but I hear of some of my friends losing their lives, a couple times a year from cancer. And this is really sad, and is that because they're not using a slow juicer to make their juices and have, you know, cruciferous vegetables every day? I don't know, because I don't know their specific diets, but I want you guys to be protected and disease-proof yourself by getting the most amount of nutrition instead of selling yourself short because you say, oh, I don't have the time. Well, maybe you got the time to get cancer, but you're not going to try to do everything you possibly can to prevent getting it in the first place, you know. And, you know, I only got into juicing because I had a health condition, a health crisis in my life. I was put in the hospital. The doctors told me I might not make it out alive. I could only say I made it out through higher powers, and I'm here today spreading what I've learned so that I will not end up in the hospital again. And that's what I would, you know, suggest for you guys to do is just, you know, drink some fresh vegetable juice, especially rich in the leafy greens, each and every day. On the other hand, so that's how this machine works. This machine runs it a different way. Instead of a high spinning, fast spinning blade, this runs in excess of 10,000 RPMs. And when that happens, you know, in my opinion, the reason why this is so, I mean, not the best, is not because of the heat. It really actually doesn't generate a lot of heat based on my testing. But what it does do, it basically puts a lot of oxygen into the juice, which basically oxidizes some of the more fragile nutrients in there. So this, on the other hand, this spins at a low 80 revolutions per minute instead of 10,000. That's multitudes times less. And it works on a, you know, it just basically runs slower, and it basically crushes and squeezes out the juice in a much safer and slower way. Now this machine is very effective for juicing things like wheatgrass that the high-speed machines will not do. It's also very efficient at juicing greens, something that will not do as well. This machine, it's not so good at juicing straight fruits, although if you're juicing fruits along with your vegetables, it's going to work great. This is also okay at juicing hard vegetables. It's going to get a good, you know, nutrition quality of the juice. But, you know, if you take carrots, for example, on both these machines, this machine will win in a sheer yield contest, although likely the carrot juice made in this machine is going to taste better because it's not going to be aerated and filled with little micro air bubbles that may give you actually gas, indigestion, and some digestive situations for some people. So that runs a lot slower. So what I'm going to go ahead and do in this episode is actually we're going to go ahead and juice 10 ounces of greens in both these machines so you can see how long it takes and also the quantity of juice that each one makes, and you'll see why you should probably never juice greens in a high-speed machine. So first, I think I'll start off with a Breville Juice Fountain Elite. Now, to save time, what I would encourage you guys to do is just take a standard produce bag and line the pulp ejection catcher, you know, with that, so you can make cleanup easier. Also, we'll be showing you guys that in a little bit and show you why I'm lining that up. So we're going to go ahead and line that. We're going to go ahead and set our collection glass right there, and we got basically two containers of organic greens by Earthbound. I weighed these out. They're 10.2 ounces each, and this is Earthbound Farm baby romaine lettuce. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open this guy up, and we're going to go ahead and time how long it takes to juice in the Breville. We'll go ahead and hit start. You guys can see the time there. And now the best way to juice the leafy greens in the Breville is not just like turn the machine on and feed them in. I'm going to go ahead and preload all these greens down into the feed chute and then turn the machine on and then push them in. This is going to be much better than just you know, juicing a little bit of time, because then if you did that, it's not even going to work as well. Alright, so we got all the greens preloaded in there. You guys can see we're empty. Had a few bad leaves we took out. Next thing is we're going to go ahead and grab the pusher. And we're going to go ahead and turn this machine on. There's two speeds, low and high. We're going to go ahead and put it on the low speed so everything doesn't just fly out instantly. It's spinning on. Some of the leaves are automatically getting kicked out. Now we're just going to go ahead and slowly push these leaves in. Alright, so that was it. We'll go ahead and turn that baby off and take a look at our time here. That took 2 minutes and 41 seconds for a nice green juice in the high-speed machine. Next, We're going to go ahead and get set up to juice in the Omega NC800. We want to check this adjustment here that comes off. It goes from 1 to 5. We're going to go ahead and set it on 5 for juicing leafy greens. We're going to go ahead and hit reset on here. Going to go ahead and hit start. And rip this guy open and get juicing. This machine runs at a much slower RPM, and so it's going to be a lot easier to juice this stuff. Just put it right in there and push it down with the pusher. Now the problem we're having with the Omega NC800 is that there's some lettuce that actually hasn't gotten fully juiced because it's sitting inside the machine. So what we need to do is we need to push that produce through. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and take some of this juice pulp that's already fairly dry. We're going to feed that through the machine to help push the good lettuce through there. Alright, so that's that. Looks like tip this guy up a little bit, make sure we get all the juice out of there. And there is still significant amounts of leafy greens stuck in there. The lettuce is a really soft consistency, so that's why that happened. Let's go ahead and stop the clock. So that took about double the time. That was about 5 minutes to juice the greens. Just a couple extra minutes. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and compare the results. So for that we have 2 little cups here. And we're going to go ahead and pour the juice from the Breville. Quite impressive, actually. Almost 4 ounces of juice. Let's go ahead and check the juice from the NC800. Look at that. Even more impressive. So let me go ahead and show you guys the differences in the yield. Let's go ahead and take a close-up on the yields. And over on the NC800 side, looks like we have maybe about 5 ounces of juice. And over on the Breville side, we don't have 5 ounces, 4.5, or even 4 ounces. We have maybe a little bit over, I don't know, maybe like 3.8 ounces. So you guys just saw the difference in the yields. The Omega NC800 made approximately 25% more juice than the Breville. Now, does this really mean you should never juice greens in your Breville? Well, you know, I want you guys to get greens in any way you possibly can, including juicing them in your Breville. My goal every day is to get 2 pounds of leafy greens in me. And for those of you guys that buy organic produce, I know you guys are saying, John, organic greens, they're not cheap. They can get quite expensive. So for that reason alone, you might want to get something like the Omega NC800 because it is a more efficient juicer. That being said, I know there's a lot of you guys that don't have the time to juice. And you guys saw that the Breville took maybe like 2 minutes, you know, less. And 2 minutes is 2 minutes, but really think about it. 2 minutes for getting 25% less juice, and not only are you getting 25% less juice in the case of broccoli, for instance, based on a published study, you know, you're going to have 50% less of the cancer protection from the broccoli juice in the Breville. So if that's what you want, I just want to share what the machines do. You know, I started off juicing 20 years ago now with a Juiceman 2 juicer, very similar to the Breville, and I loved it, and I got health benefits from it. But knowing what I know now, if I was to do it all over again, I would have got a slow juicer from the get-go to increase the amount of the beneficial nutrients that I extract, or that the juicer extracts from the produce that I'm eating. I mean, after all, that's the reason why we're juicing, right? Why not take an extra 2 minutes, you know, to make a higher quality juice, and to make a higher quality, but also higher quantity juice in a slow juicer, whatever slow juicer you may use. So I know there's some of you guys that already own Breville's, because Breville's probably the #1 selling juicer brand, and yes, it's a good, decent machine. But the thing is, when you buy something, you want to defend it. And I know there'll be a lot of comments down below this video on, you know, John, the Breville's not that bad. Well, you know, all I'm saying is that there's good, better, best, right? If you want to juice a lot of greens, you're not want to get a centrifugal ejection, you know, because you're going to get 25% or even less yield, and also not as much nutrition in the juice, right? And that's the point of this video. You know, if I'm just juicing carrots, the Breville is going to win in a yield test, but it's still not going to have the level of phytonutrients that's not easily demonstratable, you know, on a video for you guys, unless I start getting active live cancer cells and you put it under a microscope for you guys. So we got to rely on published studies, you know, for that. Anyways, if you guys are looking for a juicer, I do encourage you guys to support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to make these videos for you guys, you know, comparing the juicer side by side, so you guys will know what happens, because there's so many manufacturers and reviews online that says, oh, the Breville is great, and okay, it's good in some situations, but not every situation. And knowing what I know now, as I said, I would always go with a slow juicer. Now, I'm not a big fan of the NC800. I like the Omega VSJ843. That's my favorite machine. I do have a video comparing the NC800 to the Omega VSJ843. I'll put a link down below for that video. And you know, your support and your purchase at discountjuicers.com allows me to continue to make these videos, which I enjoy doing, and I really want to educate the people about the power of the fruits and vegetables and the power of these machines that allow you to concentrate the volume of fruits and vegetables you're eating. So, you know, I wasn't going to sit here and eat 20 ounces of the lettuce in a salad, but now I could simply, you know, drink about 9 ounces of juice and get the majority of the nutrition from those leafy greens that I may not have gotten into me otherwise. And that's really the power of the juicing. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 450 episodes now, comparing all the different juicers and having videos so that you guys could select the proper and best juicer for you, because that's the most important thing to me, is that you get the juicer that you will not only use every day, because it's easy to clean. Like this machine, in my opinion, is easier to clean than that machine. This one takes me about a minute and a half. This one might take me maybe 3 minutes, because there's less screen area and whatnot. Also, be sure to like this video and give it a thumbs up if you like this video. That'll encourage me to do more videos in the future comparing different juicers, juicing all kinds of different items. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new and upcoming episodes that I have coming out about every 5 to 7 days, comparing new juicers, talking about new blenders and appliances that allow you to eat more of the healthiest foods on the planet, the fruits and the vegetables. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors. All right, this is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you guys, and I'm here at the 2016 Natural Products Expo West. I'm here at the TriBest booth, and why I'm here today is to share with you guys about the benefits of juicing and also blending. Juicing and blending are the best two ways in this entire haul to get the best